Hey, how's it going? Welcome back. So, today we have another good looking puzzle here by Gerhard 1963. This one is called Toxic Surge. I'm guessing these are the waves of toxicity that are coming into our puzzle. I don't know if we have to fight them off or what we're going to do, but we're going to get into it. So, let's look at our rules, and of course the link will be in the description below for anyone who wants to play along. So what do we have here? So it's called Toxic Surge, as I said, and we do have irregular regions. So this is not your standard 9 by 9 Sudoku grid. So in irregular regions, every row, column, and region indicated by the thicker borders, so you can see the thicker borders here, must contain a complete set of digits 1 through 9. So rows, columns, and in an irregular region must contain all the digits 1 through 9. Then we've got cages, so digits in cages cannot repeat and must sum to the value shown in the upper left corner of the cage. So we've got a couple of cages in here. Look at this one right here. 4-cell cage must add up to 18. So digits cannot repeat even if other Sudoku rules would allow it to do, because that's what the cage requirement is. Then we've got German whispers. So usually shown as green lines, and today they are. And all of the ones I'd previously selected are green lines, just in case you have any difficulty differentiating colors, even though there's no other lines here, but there's only green lines. So adjacent digits along a German line must differ by at least 5. So whatever this is, this one has to be 5 away from it, this one has to be 5 away from the other one, and so on and so forth on each one. And that's it. So those are the rules. Let's just jump into this one, see if we can get it solved. It looks like it's going to be a fun one. The irregular regions are always a nice little break from your typical Sudoku rules. So let's get going. And, well, we do have something here that we can start with, which I'm sure is going to be what we want to start with. So we have a 3-cell 7 cage. So there's only one way to do that's 1, 2, and 4. With the 1, 2, and 4, and, well, we'll start with the simple thing, and then we'll come back to where the 4 goes. We know that now on the German whisper, we have 2 low digits. So we know what the parity distribution is. So as you all know, on German whispers, if you have a low digit, the next digit next to it, the next digit next to it, that's good English, right? Must be a high digit, because we can't ever have a 5 on a German whisper. So therefore, these are all high digits. Now, we also know that on a German whisper, if you place a 4, the digit next to it must be a 9, because that's the only value that will work with a 4. So 5 away from 4 has to be 9. Well, you can't put a 4 in either one of these 2 locations because it forces these other ones to be 9s, and that would conflict with each other. So these are not 4, which means this is. Well, why did that not work? Okay, there we go. Must have double-clicked or something. Sometimes the old mouse is a bit weird on me here. So now the 1 and the 2 are not very useful per se. We can write in our 6, 7, 8, 9s and say that this cannot be 6, because if this is 6, both of these would be 1. We do not, though, know where the 3, the 5, and the other digit that does not belong on here goes. Another thing we can look at, I guess, is this 22 cage. That seems to be the next logical place to look. First off, we know that a 22 cage has to have a 9 on it, because if it doesn't have a 9 on it, a 3-cell 22 cage, let me clarify that, it has to have a 9, because if it didn't have a 9 on it, it would be 8, 7, 6. Those add up to 21, so therefore that doesn't work. So this has a 9 on it, and I think we're going to find out that they're all high digits. I don't remember offhand what the specifics of 22 options are, so we'll go through them. So if we know we have a 9, the remainder is 13. So it's either going to be 8, 5 or 7, 6. We know these are not 5s. So we do end up having 2 high digits, which means we now know that these are all high digits as well, because they are 2 along from those. So we end up with this 6, 7, 8, 9 quad, which therefore forces this to be a 5. Now, when we force this to be a 5, these have to be the 9, 8, 5. Because the other way would have been the 9, 6, 7. That doesn't work. We could have said that neither of these two digits could have been a 6 because you would force to put 1s in conflict with each other. So these are not 8s and 9s. Now we know these have to be 1s and 2s. And the reason that is because they have to be next to 6s and 7s. So one of these is a 6. So the 1 has to be next to the 6 because that's the only valid digit for a 6. And then which one I want, it doesn't matter. Whichever one's the 6, there's a 1. The other one has to be a 7, and the only other digit other than a 1 that goes with 7 is a 2. So therefore, we have a 1-2 pair. Now, the next thing that does is what? Well, we know this is a low digit, and we're going to know what the value is because we know this is low because these are high. I don't know if I misspoke there, but I'm saying it again just in case. So if these are 1 and 2, we know this has to be a low digit. It's either 3 or 4. Well, it can't be 4 once again because we can't put 9 in both these, so this is 3. Now, the remainder of this irregular region is not entirely understood because we know there has to be a 6 and a 7 in 2 of these 3. We know there has to be a 1 and a 2 in 2 of these 3. And then we also have, a 4 that has to go in there somewhere. Okay. Can we move around the grid again to figure out the next move? It seems like we're kind of moving around the edges here. Now, this 19 clue doesn't really do much for me, I don't think. So I'm wondering if this 11 clue is going to be a bit more useful. The problem, well, yes, it is useful. Okay, now that I thought about it for a half of a second, these two digits must be of the same pair. They're either high or low. Well, can they ever both be high? The answer is obviously no, because the bare minimum they could be would be 6 and 7. That gets us well over 11 already. So these are 2 low digits, which means these are low digits. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we know this is not 1, 2, or 4, so this is our 3. We can remove 3s from all these. We also know that neither one of these is a 4, because again, it forces multiple 9s on the same column. So get rid of the 4. This is our 4, which forces this to be a 9, because the only thing to go next to a 4 is a 9. Now that we know that this is a 9, we're going to know what this digit is, because it sees the column, and the only 2 digits that are going to be 5 away from a 3 are 8 and 9. So this is 8. Okie dokie. Now, what else do we have? We could start looking at Sudoku a little bit, because we know none of these are 3s, so one of these must be. That doesn't quite do a lot, does it? Because all it does is rule out 3s down here. So, okay, well, let's look back at the 11 then, because we know these are 1 and 2, so that is 3, so therefore this must be 8. And we know this has to be a low digit. It's not, it has to be a high digit, sorry. It can't be 8 and it can't be 9, so therefore it's either 6 or 7, and it can't be 6 because you can't put 2 1s here, so this is 7. There we go. Now what are we left with? Well, this 5 as well is going to look here. Oh, no, it doesn't, because the irregular regions, again, tend to hit me sometimes where the vision is a bit messed up. So let's rethink that. We have to have 4 in one of these 3. That's not giving me too much information. The 5 is in multiple places where it could go. And there's nothing at the moment that's kind of looking across here. So, can we make a determination about this 19 cage, realizing that we have some small limitations to what can go on it. Let's look at the 4 for a second. There cannot be a 4 on any of these. So one of these is. I'm going to put that there for just a second. Now, if we were to put a 4 in either of these two, it forces a 9. Is that an issue? Because if we put a 9 on this, we're forced to put another high digit, which would have to be from 6. Well, it can't be 6, because you couldn't put 6 here, because these would be 1s. So this would have to be from 7 or 8. I don't think that causes a problem, because if you got 9 and 7, you leave a 3 over. If you have 9 and 8, you're leaving a 2 over. Both of those are perfectly valid. So I wonder if we have to look into this 21 or this 18. Because the 21, but they're 4-cell cages, so that makes it a lot more difficult to really make any real determinations just yet. Okay, just scanning around for a second. So there has to be some way we can determine what this is, I think. Whether we have... Oh, can we do the opposite of what we did here? Can this be 2 low digits? Because we can't use a 4, so the most it could ever be is 3 and 2. Therefore, it cannot be that. Okay, that's to switch the way we're thinking about it. These can't be a 3-2 pair or lows at all, because if they are, the max we can get to is 5, and this would have to be a 14. So these are high digits, which means these are low digits. This can't ever be a 4. We already knew that, both by Sudoku and by German Whisper logic. So these are high digits. And they can't have a 6 on either one of them. And this has to be a low digit. So what do we say? If it was the 9, 7, so it's either 2 or 3. So we have all of our low digits, which means these cannot be 4s. Therefore, one of these absolutely is a 9. Was this correct? What if it was 8, 7? Well, let's back up for a second. I don't know why I wasn't thinking about 8, 7. I think I did 9, 8, 9, 7, and not think about 8, 7. But it's 8, 7. This is still a low digit, so it's 1, 2, 3, or 4. But we can remove these as being 4 possibilities, and we can remove that because of that. Okay, so that does turn out. Okay. This can't be 1, though. So we do have a 4 in one of these two, and we now must have a 9 in one of these two, because if we have a 4, we have to put a 9 on. Okay. What else does that tell us? We know one of these has to be a 1. Again, that's not giving us a ton of information there. Okay, so I think we've gotten these down to the point where I don't know that we can do anything else just yet here, unless I'm just not seeing something that's in front of me. Because we know the options of what they can be. And these could still be almost any... Or is that true? What if this was a 3? Let's think about that path for a second, because that's going to affect everything in here. If this is a 3, this is a 9, 8. Yeah, that would make this a 2, and that all works. Okay. So that doesn't do much for us, I guess. Now, if you think about the other way, if this was a 2, or if this was a 2, we can look at both options, I guess. Well, we already figured out. So if this is a 2, we're looking at 9, 7. Sorry, 9, 8 with the 2 there. This could still be 1 or 3, yeah. So, okay, so it doesn't seem to quite give anything there. Okay. What else can we say then? Let's put this in, because it might give us some help when we're looking at other regions. So I think we're going to have to get out of our region here for a second. None of these can be 9s. Is it possible to determine which one of these two can be? Because we can always put a 9 in this 18 cage, I think, and not break the puzzle. Because if we put a 9 here, we have to create a 9 with 3 other digits, which there are multiple ways to do. I think... yeah, I don't think we can quite make a determination there. The only thing I was thinking about this region is we still have to find where the 5 and the 6 go, but we don't have any 5s or 6s that are looking in here. So, that said, the other thing I guess we can say is the 4s looking into this region. We know there has to be a 4 on the 18 cage. Can we take that any further? Because what does that do if we have a 4 on it? Can we still make the case for the 9? I think we can. Because if there is a 9 in here, this one it would be. We have a 9 and a 4. We still have to have 5 left over, so that would be a 2-3 pair. They could be arranged, it seems, in any real location to do so. Okay. I was hoping that would have gotten us somewhere further. But it doesn't appear like it has. Is there anything obvious I'm missing in some of these columns? Let's think about that. It doesn't look like there is. We know we have to put one, 2, 3, and 4 here. Nothing is actually looking at that except for this. This can't be 1 or 4 because we know the 1s and 4s go down here. We know these can't be 3s because there is a 3 here. We do get the 1, 2, 3, 4 quad. Oh, that actually does give us something. That's interesting. Because we've... no, it doesn't. I was thinking back on those 9s. It still doesn't quite get us there. We do know, excuse me, that if we do have the 1, 2, 3, 4, this digit is limited, but not by a whole lot. It must be from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Can't be 7 or 8 or 9, so it's a 5 or a 6. But again, this is not really sticking out. So, there is something that I'm not currently seeing that should be able to get us to the next step. what that is, I don't quite know. Excuse me. Because again, we can't, I don't think we can do much more on this 18, and I don't think we can do much on this 21 at the moment until we get further information. And we don't really have a ton of information in any other row or column to work with other than this one, I guess. These have to be from 5, 6, 7, and 9. These can't be 9. This can't be 7. This can't be 7. Okay, let's look at this. I actually did have something down here that I saw it and I backed away from it. But it does go with the 9. Where does the 9 go in this row? I was thinking of the region when I should have focused on the row there. So none of these can be 9s. So now this must be 9. Can we take that any further? I think we can, because we know one of these two digits must be an 8 for this row. Therefore, these are not 8s. So this is our 7, 9 pair, which leaves this as a 3. Therefore, these are not 3s. That forces this to be a 3. That's a 3 in the corner. And what else can we say? Let's see. Just doing a bit of scanning. So these guys here, they can't be 7 anymore. Okay, so if we continue to look at this row is giving us a lot of information. We've not been fully utilizing it, or at least not efficiently. This is a 7. That 7 removes 7 from there. We have these two digits are 5, 6, or 8. That we cannot continue to figure out. We know this is 5, 6, or 8 as well. So let's put it in. Now that we've fleshed out that row, is there anything comparable that's going to happen up here? That's a good question. Just looking at the 1s, 2s, and 4s must be in these locations. This can't be a 1 or a 2, so that's a 4. Okay. Yeah, so these outer reaches are doing a lot more than I thought they were going to at the start. Well, we were more focused on the German whisper, but then once we got that information, plugging in the remainder is what has helped us out here. So we have to have a 3 in one of these two. So we'll continue to go around our border, see if we can find anything else of use here. We can't say what the other digit is at the moment, because this could still be a 5 down here, so we can't rule it out of all of those areas. We can rule in a 4 to this 21 cage. So we have these dueling 4s with our 21 and our 18. But they've not quite given us enough at the moment. So let's continue to look and see what's going on. We have to have a 1 or a 2 in here as well, because we've got these looking in here. So, what are the possibilities then for this 21 cage? Let's think about it. I'm not sure that we're necessarily going to know exactly what it can be. Because if we think about the bare minimums, we would have 4 plus 1. We would have a 5 there. We'd be left over with 16, which would be a 9-7 pair. I'm wondering then... No, I can't say that. Maybe there is a point where there has to be a 9 in the 21 cage. Whether or not that pushes us forward, I'm not entirely sure. But because if we, like we said, if we have a 4 with the 1, because we know there's a 1 or a 2 in here, we're at either 5 or 6. No, we can't say that. We can't say there has to be a 9 yet. Because if this was a 4-2, we'd have 15 left over. We could either do 9-6 or 8-7. This would end up being the 8. And the 7 would fill the other spot. So, no, that's not the answer. Okay. What about moving inward 1 ring? This 7-9, there we go. I didn't even see that. Well, I know it was there, but I didn't correlate it to here. That forces this to be a 6, which forces this to be a 1, forces this to be a 2, 1, 2, and that's going to resonate a bit. This has to be a 4, this has to be a 2, this has to be a 7. Okay. Now, that removes these from being 4, which means this is our 4. What else did it do? We're going to know what these digits are. We could probably make some use of that. Is there anything more obvious, once again, that I'm missing? Like, where does a 1 go in this row? It has to be in one of these two. The 2, we just know it goes in one of these two. Making sure I'm not missing anything else there. The 5 can go anywhere, essentially. And then the 8 is the other digit in this row that is not determined. Okay. So maybe that one's not the way to go. Let's look at this one. Again, we have the 5. It goes in one of these two. The 6 has multiple locations. The 7 has multiple locations. And the 8 has a couple of locations. Okay, let's fill these in then, I guess. We know they have... Oh, that's the answer. Where's the 1 go? It has to go here. Therefore, these are 6s and 7s. Therefore, these are the 5 and the 8. It's, at least for me, like I said previously, it's a little bit more difficult to really line up some of these items because of the irregular grids. But anyway, just putting that out there. What else? I continue with what's working, right? So what are these digits? We have to be able to put 5, 6, 8, and 9 in them. I guess that means that this has to be 5, 6, 9. And we can put all these in just so that they're there. But we've got 5, 6, 8, 9 left over. These obviously can't be 8. So we've got 5, 6, 9 triple in this irregular region. So we're going to know what these two digits are, which then is going to give us this digit. So these have to be 1 and 7. If that's the case, we've got 12 here, so this has to be a 9. That's correct. That 9 is going to give us our 8 and our 9. then we can get the 7 and the 9. That 7's going to look back up the 1 and the 7, which is going to give us the 2 and the 1. I think this is going to break us out here. Now this 7 cannot go with the 4, so the 4 is pushed over here. This can get rid of some of this information that's just not necessary anymore. And what else do we have now? So we know up here we have to have the 7s and 8s. Can we look elsewhere as we've done in these surrounding regions? The 1 must go here. Get rid of that then. And, well, this 9 says that can't be a 9. It's a little something. So we get a 5, 6 pair. So these are going to be a given pair of some sort, which are 3 and 4. That's going to do what for us? It's forcing this again to be a 5, 6, or a 9, but it can't be a 5, so it's 6 or 9. Okay, let's go down here. We need to have a 2 somewhere. Again, it could still be either of those locations. We have to have the 5 and the 8 are the other options. Again, it's not giving us anything there. Okay? Eventually, we're going to get to this 18 clue, I think. So let's do a quick Sudoku look here and see if there's anything that's popping out that we're just missing at the moment because of not really focusing on some of these regions. Okay, so looking at the 2s, that is helpful. None of these can be 2s, so one of these must be, which is forcing this to be a 1, this to be a 2. And what further does that do for us? What else can go in here, has to go in here? Again, we said one of these is 2. We've got to put a 3 in here somewhere. It's one of those. 5 can go anywhere. 6 can go anywhere. And the 8 is the last digit to deal with. Okay. Surprisingly, it's not really breaking out, unless it's just that I'm missing things, like I have done previously. Whatever. These digits, what must they be? Well, let's just look at the row, I guess. Now that we've kind of, it looks like we can zero in a little bit here. We have to put a 9 in here. There's a 9 here, so this forces the 9. So that gives a 5, 6 pair and pushes the 9 up here, which removes this as a 9. Now we've got a 5, 6 pair here, so that forces the 8 and the 9. That forces the 5. This can't be 9. None of these can be 9. This 2 up here is giving us a bit of information. This is a 7, 8 pair, so this is 6. Therefore, these are a 3, 5 pair. A lot of marking on this one. What about the remainder of this region? We have to have 3, 5, and 6. 6 has to go here. So this is a 3, 5 pair. Just make sure I'm not missing the region here or anything. Now we're going to know what these 3 have to be, which is going to give us this digit. Well, that 4 actually gave us that digit, but that's okay. We still know what these 3 have to be. We have to get a 2 and a 7 and an 8. That's not 7. That's not 2. Okay. Can these be a 7, 8 pair? Let's think about that, because if they can't, that'll give us a 2. If these are a 7, 8 pair, that's 15, plus 4 gets us 19, so that cannot occur. So this is 2, which gives us 8 and 7. This has to be a 2, it's the only place left. Now we get the 1 and the 2 finally over here. And are we done with 1s and 2s? I think we will be. Yeah, this has to be 1. That was the final one. Almost like the final countdown. This is a 2. What are these 2 digits? Since we have only 2 left in this row, they have to be from 4 and 6, and this can't be 4. So 6 and 4. Removes a 6 from here. What about this? Because we know what these are. So that's 13, so this has to be 5. That gives us a 3 and a 5, which means neither of these can be 5, so this is. That gives us 6 and 5, and 3 and 5. We're getting there. Just taking a minute. That 4 gives us 3 and 4. We got a 5, 6 pair. This is a 6, 8, so this is 5, 6, 5. And we're going to get this digit, which is 9, I believe. Yes. And that 6 here gives us our 8 and our 6. And this has to be 7. These two are going to have to be 3 and something else. There's a 3 here, so this is 3. This has to be 8. Therefore, we get our 7 and an 8. And that 7 gives us our 6 and our 7. This is a given digit of 6. This is a given digit of 3. And this is our final 8. There we go. Oof. Yay, congrats. Cool and good. I took a little bit longer than it probably should have. There's a couple of things that were fairly obvious that I kind of missed when I was exploring the puzzle page here to get it figured out. But again, very fun puzzle, and you really did have to kind of work your way inward, to which point you would get into the middle, and then it kind of just broke out. So anyway, always pleasure with Gerhard's puzzles. They're always good. Hope y'all enjoyed this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks a lot.